She's developed a methodology of painting ad hoc and in between her paintings, which describes how she practices in times and spaces outside or alongside her working and caring responsibilities. Fiona manages and teaches on the BA Honours Fine Art Painting degree at the University Centre St Helens, and she's exhibited nationally and internationally, and is actively involved in the broader discussion around painting, especially in painting and motherhood. And I'd just like to add to that you kindly introduced me to the group. Is it Academic Painters Mothers? I can't remember what it is now. It's anti-gender.
Yes, is it AWP?
Yeah.
So this work as parents.
That's
Alliance, something like that.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah. I don't know how we met.
I'm not sure how we met, but I think I just remember you coming to visit me at the University Centre. Can you hear me, everybody? Because I do quite gently. So,
Which is, I'll just yell. It's an absolutely amazing institution, course leader. There's another lecturer here, Amy somewhere.
Oh, yes,
Amy there. The size of the works, I'm not saying that's, it's just overwhelming when you go there. The painterness of it all. The size of the studios, the activities is brilliant. And I'm really pleased that there's a specific painting BA Honours course in the Northwest as well, which is quite unusual. I think you just said that there was 3 in the country or something, not many.
I think there's Brighton, and then I think somebody mentioned Aberdeen before we were talking, and I think there's the painting and drawing in Northampton, and I think in London too. So around here, it's really specific, I guess, for the BA painting particularly. So keeping hold of that.
And Fiona's joining us from Liverpool today, a Liverpool painter. So I'll let you take away the PowerPoint.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so I have got lots of slides, and it's quite content heavy, so but there's lots of time for questions afterwards, so we'll go through quite a lot, but just plenty of time to talk to me afterwards about things as well. So thank you so much. Okay, so this is my research presentation. So I'm presenting my PhD research really to you. So first I'll describe my research, and then I'll focus on my methodology and putting that into context, and show examples of the work of others and my recent work. Each slide is illustrated with images that embody my research. Okay, so what's my research? The title is a practice-based research inquiry investigating the implications of time and space on paintings made by midlife contemporary women painters. What I really want to understand is the impact of the lack of time and space on my practice and on other contemporary midlife women painters. I want to situate significant aspects of my painting process, including my methodology, which is sort of my unique thing, painting ad hoc, and in between the painting to other women painters. These terms describe the process of painting in between other jobs or responsibilities. Ad hoc can mean impromptu or makeshift or make do, but it can also mean when needed. And in Latin it means to this and implies resourcefulness and being astute rather than being cobbled together or thrown together. And I find this really interesting. It gives a much more positive rather than negative tone to the word. My understanding of these terms was further informed by my reading of Lyndon Auckland's seminal essay and the 2021 anniversary edition with the introduction by Catherine Grant. In the introduction, Grant describes how Auckland developed an ad hoc methodology which drew on her personal experience. For me, this was really exciting as it gave my term painting ad hoc an art historical lineage. gave me more confidence in my ideas and legitimated and sort of validated them. Knockling's sense of being marginalised enabled her to connect with others on the margins. And for me, this explains why those who exist in the margins may use marginal materials or different ways of painting and working. She turns this approach into something innovative and positive. And for me, I connected this with ideas of expanding painting. Knockling's ideas come from Duchampian philosophy, and she states that women have embraced this approach perhaps due to their position in society. This explains my attraction to the work of artists with a reverent spirit, a raw aesthetic, and the refusal to be perfect, which are feelings I associate with the terms I have invented. In my own practice, for example, I am aware of the necessity to often produce my paintings in ad hoc spaces and over shortened durations because of my lecturing responsibilities. This disparate relation to space and time has resulted in the production of paintings that present a particular approach to scale and materials. I embrace chance, appropriation, and collaborate with students, family, and they have an input into how the works develop or how I represent the works. Andrea Lees, in her book Feminist Art and the Maternal, explores the impact of the maternal on art, and in doing so discusses time and space and their effect on the artwork that women produce. However, I intend to study this aspect specifically with painting, in relation to painting, so I guess that's the unique thing about my PhD or what I'm doing, that it's focusing on painting. Lees describes Christader's concept of women's time in relation to Lisa Barista's research and the idea of the maternal subjective illustrated via Bobby Baker's work Drawing on a Mother's Experience from 1988. This is also key to my studies. However, I'll go on from this to cite other influences such as Niki de Saint-Phal, which leads me on to the next stage of my presentation, where I connect specific artists and painters to my work. Niki de Saint-Phal produced works by shooting at a canvas embedded with paint-filled balloons. Though such works were abstract and even playful, they reflected the memory and ongoing experience of the Second World War. She shot at everything she hated in society. This work connects with the performance painting that I did with Amy, who's there. I'd love to collaborate with artists as well, and we coordinated a group painting event where our children, as well as other adults and children, gathered and soaked toilet roll into like brush show dye and chucked this tissue at the canvas as a fun act of rebellion, dissent and joy. Mary Kelly, another huge influence, the postpartum document, the 6-year exploration of the mother-child relationship. When it was first shown at the ICA in London in 1976, the work provoked a tabloid outrage because it incorporated stained nappy liners. And for me, this sort of use of alternative material and the maternal subjective voice is really interesting. Lees is another huge influence, an artist and mother. She created the Manifesto for Maintenance Art in 1969, which drew attention to the unnoticed, unpaid domestic work that mothers do in the home. She defined her everyday work as art following Duchamp's lead, and this performance piece at the Wadsworth Athenaeum Museum of Art in 1973, on the left here, highlights the undervalued work of the maintenance workers in the museum. And she continues to champion people who care for society today, and encouraged me to see my sort of care work as part of my practice. I love this quote. I won't read it out, but let you read it, but just the fact that she's taking her artwork and taking her sort of everyday work and exhibiting that as art. You know, she's a woman, a wife, doing maintenance every day, but also and claiming that that is her art, following Duchamp's lead. And if he can do it, why can't she? So these images connect my maintenance work with my painting, so I just added a slide to see that how sometimes the marks that I make when I'm cleaning the house maybe appear in the paintings. Other images follow, like Sir Lucas's 1000 Eggs, the marks of Julian Schnabel, René Ricard's notebooks, so I often use those sort of marks within my paintings. Diana Molson's work, she explores the relationship between painting and sculpture through deconstruction and materialisation of traditional painting tools. So this idea of expanding painting is what I'm finding really interesting in using these different tools and allowing that to be painting too. I'll just show you some of these as I'm coming through rather than talk about every single one somewhere of the time, but Sarah Kate Wilson's work, again borrowing objects and making these paintings within a specific length of time and collaborating. Carla Black's work, I find particular interest in Black's work, pushes the boundaries of sculpture and celebrates this in-betweenness of form. So Black defines herself as a sculptor, however she acknowledged that her work engages with painting and performance art and land art, and the fact that she operates in this area of uncertainty is something that I really appreciate and has encouraged me to value that quality in my work and consider its relevance to meaning. Angela de la Cruz's work, again another huge influence, but that idea of the human frailty being shown within the works, the sort of anthropomorphic quality of these works found really interesting. Sonia Delaunay's work, for me this painting is a painting with fabric. Sonia Delaunay herself claims peasant blankets inspired this patchwork, and I think for me here it's like imagining her waiting to paint but can't get the time to do it, so she's caring for a child, so she's sort of making something for a child at the same time as making a painting with whatever's to hand, which I found really wonderful. And I guess this is some of like a work that I made that's I guess connected to that in some way. So the idea of expanded painting, I feel, allows others who are time and space poor to maybe enter that field of painting. So for me, that was a way for me to be able to continue painting without having very much time and space to do so. So what now? What I really need to do now is focus on like revisiting my writing and my work, thinking about the feedback I've had so far, and then focus my eyes on painting, practice of women as maybe multitaskers. Brigitte Durack talked about my work, and she talked about this idea, the hypothesis that short bursts of time and space available necessitate an adjustment to materials and tools. I can't say it properly. But you know, this idea that you need to sort of change your tools when you're in a short space of time, and I think it's something for me to think about. Thinking about chapter headings, which all have like motherhood in them, so I've decided to put that within each chapter heading. Speaking to others, like at events, I guess, like this, the Art Working Parents Alliance that we talked about, and then also joining the Spilt Milk Gallery's membership. So a few of these things I've already done. Connecting with inspirational artists that I know are in maybe similar positions, like Louisa Chambers, just Hannah Murgatroyd, I'll just go through these, Emily Stevens. That's a common time. You're on it. Even before this, you were on it. Jay Simpson. Emma Roche. So, you know, it's just connecting with people that might have that similar sort of relationship. So just to finish, and we can talk about my work anyway at any point, but there's just some recent practical work that I'll just show you. We can see use of different implements and things that are lying around the studio. So I might be doing work with my students, and then something will happen and I'll start to play with them and fold it, and through the desire of wanting to make but not having the time, I'll just be like, I'm just going to clip this together, or I'll just move that, and then I'll carry on working with them. So I often work alongside students in the studio, leave things hanging around, using collage to put things together really quickly, and enjoy the feedback from those around. So I've got used to just putting stuff up in the staff room, or these are works that I'd played around with at home. So I tend to keep a big box full of stuff that I can just pull out every now and again. Using fabric as a glaze, really. So if a painting isn't working, or I'm feeling like I need to change something but I haven't got time to put the paints out, again I'll just sort of get a piece of fabric and hang that around it and use it like glaze. So using elastic bands or things like bulldog clips, joining things together. That's the carpet in the staff room. And this work, maybe I can say a little bit more about this, that I thought this was a work that started off as an experiment with students, exploring mark making techniques, and then I sort of carried on working on it. And then you can see sort of underneath that there's one of those horrible spreadsheets, and you're just so it's trying to fill that in, going, oh my god, I've got to do this now. And then I've just been reading about an artist at the time, forgetting her name now, but I'll remember. But she connects the painting sometimes by using different marks to bring things together, and I sort of tried to bring the painting together by using these sort of straight marks here that maybe reflect the marks on the spreadsheet, so you can see. Maybe the spreadsheet, but I hate spreadsheets. But so it comes out of that almost sort of working life.
You're using something though that's having a negative visual impact on you.
Yeah,
something positive.
So Charlene Von Hayden, that was sometimes brings work together like that. So, and again, this is a sort of started off as an experiment, showing the students how to get the paint to separate on top of oil, and then I just got into it a little bit too much. Then I was like, and then again, no time to get the paints out, so just used tape to sort of make a contrasting feature in the painting. Okay, and this is probably something maybe more recent. But that actually now has a little bit of one of my daughter's drawings at the bottom of that, actually. I've just clipped onto it. But I think using collage as well is something that helps me sort of complete something in a way that, I can't put paint over it now because I'm going to mess it up and I can't be able to start again. So I'll just sort of put bits of paper on it instead.
What size is that, sorry?
It's probably about maybe that size. Like that.
Me too.
Maybe.
I'm
I'm not really good at maths. Probably about let me see, about maybe 100 centimetres by 50 centimetres.
So a metre by half.
Something like that.
On paper or
on canvas? But I don't actually work an awful lot on canvas. It's just that when the students have asked for demonstrations about things like using stretching canvas, or then I've done lots of demonstrations and then used my demonstrations, and I was like, okay, I'm struggling with time. He's like, well, just make everything you do your work. And I just thought, all right, okay, I'll just try and do that. So I guess I've just tried to sort of make everything useful in terms of my practice, really. So finally, I hope you've got an idea of my research and its context, and how my methodology results from a lack of time and space, and how that's actually shaped my practice. You know, a lot of the work that I've showed you, I guess when I spoke to my PhD supervisor, who were brilliant about it, they were sort of saying, this is it, this is your work, this is not just the thing that you're doing because you haven't got time, you know, this is the stuff that's most interesting. So I was like, oh, okay. So it just gave me that sort of belief, I guess.
Don't say permission.
Confidence.
Yeah.
It's about confidence.
Yeah.
And that it's a valid language, and that, you know, I can use that technique and other people can do it as well, and it's something we can do.
Yes. Brilliant.
There we go.